Before we start, let me guys ask you to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And also leave the comment if you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much.
Hey folks, thanks for stopping by and welcome back to my YouTube channel Czechoslovak Gun Stories. My name is Kuba and in today's episode we are going to talk about a very interesting series of Czechoslovak PDWs. Before we start, let's talk about PDW in general, what it is, because there is a lot of confusion in terms of what PDW stands for. So, some people say that PDW is actually a gun that is in between submachine gun and rifle. It's smaller than just an ordinary rifle and it is using a intermediate cartridge that stands between the submachine gun or pistol and rifle caliber. So these guns were actually very popular since 1990s and they are typically chambered in calibers like 5.7 by 28, that will be P90 from FN, or 4.6 by 30, that's an option from Heckler & Koch, and their MP7 PDW. However, before 1990s, the idea of what actually is PDW was not all that clear. It was actually pretty much anything that was more compact than a rifle or an ordinary submachine gun, something in terms of size rather close to a handgun, something that was concealable but offered more firepower, like the Z61 Scorpion. That was pretty much the first dedicated PDW out there, right? However, once again, there are more theories on what PDW is. Is it a very subcompact submachine gun? Maybe. Some say it is a very compact rifle like Sig Rattler. Is it PDW? I don't know. So now let's say we have a requirement to build a PDW that's based on the standard rifle cartridge. So we have like three different options. Option number one, the simplest one, would be to take the ordinary rifle, cut the barrel, equip it with a folding stock, and you end up with guns like AKS-74. In my opinion, the sexiest AK out there. However, shortening the barrel too much, which happened in case of AKS-74, you're losing a lot of velocity, you are losing accuracy, and as a result, this gun was not all that popular among the servicemen in the former Soviet Union, so that's probably not the best way. But I said there are three options, so what's the option number two? Yeah, you're right. It's going bullpup, right? Let's have a look at L22, the L85 Carbine. That was a very interesting project that could be described as PDW. That was a 1980s, 1990s project of shortening the British service rifle to a very short carbine. And since this was a bullpup type of rifle, that means that the magazine is behind the trigger group. The barrel, even though the overall length of the gun was quite short, the barrel was like 12 inches long, which for 5.56 NATO is a, let's say, rather decent length in terms of accuracy, in terms of velocity, and so we can say that this is really a very viable solution. But what if you don't want to go bullpup? Because bullpups also have their own disadvantages. There is a third solution I mentioned, right? That's called Czechnology. And that brings us to the late 1970s in the Czechoslovakia. At that time, Ministry of Defense asked for a new design of a rifle / submachine gun that we chambered in the standard 7.62 by 39 ammo, but would be more compact than a VZ58 rifle. This gun was intended to be used for officers, for paratroopers, special forces, and there were some very strict requirements, strict specifications requested from the Czechoslovak ministry. And in the very early 1980s, Konstrukta Brno, there was the Bureau for Firearms Development, under the Czechoslovak government, came up with a project called Krása. Krása stands for Krátký samopal, or short submachine gun, and was chambered in 7.62 by 39. Later on, in 1983, Czechoslovaks rechambered the design to more viable cartridge for this purpose, 545 by 39. This was called SA83 SRAS, and once again, it was a very compact, very lightweight package. It was tested, it was approved, it seemed to be a very rational solution for the army. However, another batch of weapons was at that time under development, and that was CZ Lada. In the end, neither CZ Lada series nor Krása and SRAS prototypes were introduced in the service of the Czechoslovak army because all the development was kind of interrupted by the Velvet Revolution. After the revolution, the budget of the Czechoslovak army was very, very tight, and so both Krása and SRAS projects ended up in a drawer. A couple of years later, however, Konstrukta Brno, in cooperation with Česká zbrojovka in Uherský Brod, decided to resurrect this project and introduce a new PDW, this time chambered in 5.56 NATO caliber. The result were actually two prototypes called HROM and MOR. They are very, very similar. The only difference is the locking system. While MOR works more like an AK or AR pattern of rifles with rotating bolt, the HROM prototype is more similar to VZ58. Other than that, they are pretty much identical. What we have here today is a HROM prototype. So let's see how it works. CZ decided to use transparent polymer materials for the lower assembly and a magazine. As you can tell, the quality was no match for today's polymers, as there are plenty of little cracks. The grip is very similar to CZ75 though. The magazine is enclosed in the front as the rounds are pulled out backwards. It works similarly to the bowbrick pistol. Each cartridge is pulled out by a pair of claws that are a part of the bolt. If you wonder where the designer Jiří Čermák, the very author of a VZ58, got an inspiration for the feeding system, just look at the PK machine gun. It pretty much looks like a flipped up PK machine gun, doesn't it? Once out of a magazine, the round needs to be elevated to face the chamber. This is done by a hammer whose face is angled and serves as a sort of a slide. It is hard to simulate the whole process with the gun disassembled, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Elevating the cartridge also unhooks it from the claws, and the cartridge is now chambered by a bolt moving forward, just like with any other closed bolt weapon. From this moment, HROM and MOR works just like any other gas piston operated assault rifle. Even though the barrel is longer than it would be if the magazine was placed normally, it still requires an effective solution to reduce the muzzle flash. The conical flash hider that sits inside the foregrip is up for the task. You probably noticed the dust cover, which is quite similar to the one found on AR style rifles. The difference here is that it is actuated by the bolt, and thus it remains closed at all times. It only opens when the bolt travels and ejects the spent casing. The folding stock also serves as a very decent pistol grip and is very comfortable. All in all, it's a very, very compact package, quite handy, lightweight, and I'm very sure it would be a pleasant gun to shoot, but unfortunately, since this prototype has seen a lot of testing, you can see the cracks in the polymer, and internally it looks very, very well used. I didn't have a chance to shoot it. Anyway, now you know what's the magic inside the Krása, SRAS, HROM and MOR prototypes. So guys, that's it for today. I hope you learned something new about this magnificent Czechoslovak PDW series. If you have, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. If you have any questions, remarks, whatever you would like to share with me, comment section is down there for you. So thank you and until next time.